Hello! It is not a Tuesday, but I am busy today, so we're doing an IRL video instead of the regularly scheduled videos that we normally have, that being Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 and Fallout New Vegas. Nonetheless, for this IRL video, I thought we would do something kind of quick and fun because I am busy. It's the holidays right now. I'm going to my mom's annual Christmas party, but nonetheless, this week, or for this video, I thought we would talk about stunt casting in The Elder Scrolls 6. The Elder Scrolls 6 is kind of a hotbed of discourse still, probably against a lot of people's better judgment, right? We figured that there wouldn't be much to go on at the Game Awards 2025 about The Elder Scrolls 6, but that didn't stop anybody. We even had confirmation that that statue was definitely not The Elder Scrolls 6, but that didn't stop anybody, right? So, in light of that, let's talk about The Elder Scrolls 6. Let's talk about stunt casting. For those who do not know, stunt casting, especially within the purview of video games, would be, I guess an example would be, for instance, in Oblivion, right? When Patrick Stewart provided the voice for Emperor Uriel Septim VII, or similarly, Sean Bean as well for Martin Septim. Just as well, there in Skyrim, right? You had Michael Hogan as General Tullius. You had oh my God, what is his name? He's no longer with us. He was in Game of Thrones. God, I cannot remember his name, but he did the voice of. Man, I don't remember his character's name either. You should have acted. They're already here. Right, you know him. In the Blades and all of that. Just as well, Delphine, I believe, is voiced by someone of some renown. Just as well, Fallout 3, of course, we had Liam Neeson. Fallout 4, we actually didn't really have anyone that notable outside of the purview of, like, or outside of the realm of, like, notable voice actors, you know, like, oh, this is the guy who voices Garrus Vakarian, or this is Linda Carter, which at the time was the wife of the CEO of ZeniMax, right? So it made sense. She's been in a lot of the games prior, but there wasn't any stunt casting really in Fallout 4, and that's probably because so much of the voice budget went to having voice protagonists. But we did get back to more stunt casting in Starfield, right? We dug deep for, once again, I don't remember this person's name, but from 2001, A Space Odyssey. Also, Quark from Star Trek. A lot of Star Trek polls. I'm sure Todd Howard is big in on that, especially given his proclivities for space sci-fi and all of that. So I could see something similar with Elder Scrolls 6, and suffice it to say, I would guess that there will be stunt casting making a big return in The Elder Scrolls 6. I would assume that that will continue on with a tradition. Unless, beyond all belief and beyond all signals pointing otherwise, they return with a voice protagonist. But they have literally gone on saying that they don't... They've all but said that they're not going to do it. Regardless, we got plenty of ancillary characters of varying import. Who do we think will show up? Who do we want to show up? Stunt casting is a wild one because I do enjoy the novelty of it as someone playing the game, but it undoubtedly does chew up your voice budget, right? It does definitely chew through your stuff in a major way, especially depending on like what kind of talent you're doing it all with. But it also is worth pointing out that The Elder Scrolls in and of itself kind of like was partial to setting that standard with Oblivion, right? These days you get like Charles Dance in The Witcher 3. You get like Jason Isaacs in Baldur's Gate 3, or what's his name? Oh my God, what's his name? He was also in Portal, Portal 2, voicing Ketherick. But this happens a lot nowadays. It's a regular occurrence. Mass Effect having Charlie Sheen and whatnot. It's having also Michael Hogan, right? But it's a regular occurrence, and I see no reason to believe that won't also continue here, especially, like I said, with Oblivion being, I don't know about the trendsetter, but they were definitely one of the ones who did it. Not first, because true enough, in like isometric 2D CRPGs, the classics were rolling out sort of as steamed voice actors. There was a big moment wherein we were playing Fallout 1, and I was shocked to hear, of course, Ron Perlman, but also Keith David just coming in out of nowhere. And of course, Michael Dorn, another Star Trek pool, voicing not just in New Vegas, but voicing in Fallout 2, Marcus. Some wild and interesting stuff there. But I would suspect Elder Scrolls 6 will continue that. And like we had said, a whole lot of other games have gone down this route. And it seems like there are more traditional actors have become even more open to the idea of doing it. You know, like we've just named off a good slew of them, you know. It feels like video games are entering Hollywood in an interesting way, for better or worse. It's probably best taken on a case-by-case basis. But regardless, I would like to contribute my own. This is a time-honored tradition in and of itself of people fan casting, right? I have a bit of a list here of ones that I think are pretty probable to appear, right? Decently high likelihood of appearing. A bit more unlikely, and ones where it's like no way, or it's literally impossible. And a couple wild cards. I do want to point out other ones. Someone like Charles Dance. I do wonder about someone like Charles Dance. We just mentioned him, so I figured we should talk about him immediately. That being the man what played Tywin Lannister, perhaps his most popular role, I would say, was Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, the television series. Very, very well acted, and like we had said, went on to also do voice work for The Witcher 3, among other things. He's also in other games as well. And I do feel like maybe his presence there in Witcher 3 could potentially exclude him from appearing in the Elder Scrolls 6 because it might feel a little too overwrought, you know, because those games have so much shared fandom. I feel like they may not want to dip into that well again, especially given what all is available. And for that reason, I would also say, man, what is his name? The voice of Cave Johnson. I always blank on his damn name. The guy who voices Ketherick Thorm, he's like a renowned, he's like a very famous actor. But I feel like he will not be in Elder Scrolls 6. Similarly, I doubt Jason Isaacs will appear in Elder Scrolls 6 given their recent appearances and performances in Baldur's Gate 3. Anything too recent like that, I feel like you run the risk of it excluding them from appearing in Elder Scrolls 6 just because you don't want it to seem too samey and too copycatty, you know? I do doubt that. However, actors appearing in sort of games that are quite different, I feel like you're more open to, you know? For instance, I could see a bunch of Game of Thrones alumni appearing potentially in Elder Scrolls 6, and we already had some in Skyrim, right? We already had at least the one. God, what was his name as well? Man, I'm really blanking on these names. Anybody that I didn't write down, immediately blanking on them. But regardless, I could very easily see, like, for instance, Gwendolyn Christie, who, although is definitely getting work these days, right? Thanks to her roles in Wednesday and Severance, and also had, like, a big rise to fame playing her character in Game of Thrones. She did go on to fully narrate the new Civilization game, and I feel like that's enough steps, enough degrees removed from Elder Scrolls where I feel like it's feasible that Gwendolyn Christie could show up. And she also has a pretty, you know, as it shows in Civilization, the newer one, I think her voice is distinct enough to where it's recognizable, and she is like a cast member that you would be down for having. right? I do think that that's a bit of a requirement, is that you don't want someone with a very unrecognizable, a very indistinct voice. You know, different actors carry themselves in different ways, wherein like maybe you're more of a physical or on-screen presence when it comes to your acting capability, but you have a bit of a generic voice. You know, you're not particularly notable in that way, which, you know, no harm, no foul. But in a lot of cases, you probably, if you're going to go through with stunt casting, even if it's a niche stunt casting where it's like, oh, this is a person who was from this TV show that I personally liked when I was a kid, and now I'm the director of this big game, thus I want them to be in this, right? Even if it's something niche, you still want them to sound pretty distinct. You know, you don't just want them to have like a very bog standard broadcast voice, case in point. But I would say Gwendolyn Christie is up there and decently probable. I would say we mentioned as well in Fallout, Keith David was there. I feel like Keith David takes work in so many damn things. I feel like if they asked Keith David to show up in Elder Scrolls 6, he would be down. But just as well at the same time, given him already having a history with Fallout and being in Fallout 1, I wouldn't want him to reprise his same character from Fallout 1. But I would be down for Keith David voicing a new character in like Fallout 5 or something if he wanted to. I'd rather have him there in Fallout rather than Elder Scrolls 6. There's other, like we had mentioned, other actors who have even recently contributed their voices, like Jeffrey Wright. He was even just at the Game Awards. I could see him showing up. He hasn't really done any sort of like sword and sorcery fantasy whatsoever, as far as I know. When it comes to his work in video games. And he does have a kid who is apparently, as we'd seen at the Game Awards, fairly interested in video games and may egg him on one way or the other to say like, hey, yeah, you should take this opportunity. It's a pretty cool one, right? They're always notable, the Elder Scrolls games and all of that. Similarly, just recently, Aaron Paul just kind of hit it off big with Dispatch. At first glance, I would say Aaron Paul has too much of a modern voice, but I feel like the more you listen to his deliveries in Dispatch, the more I think, like, he could totally nail doing something in, like, sword and sorcery fantasy, you know, medieval fantasy. He could nail it. I think he could. I would rank him among being like a probable inclusion to the voice cast. And he does have such a distinctive, almost like gravelly kind of voice. You know, it's very recognizable. I think people would appreciate it as well. I think he would be a great pull, right? Frankly, a lot of people from Breaking Bad would be a great pull, but I would say that he's probably the most likely to show up. I feel like, you know, you could get what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito, but I feel like he's becoming kind of overplayed even within the realm of video games. You know, it's after you become a Far Cry villain, I feel like there's a big cooldown period before you appear in other big name video games. So I don't know that Giancarlo Esposito will make an appearance. I think he could totally do it, of course, but like I said, too much recency. And also he's in the Mandalorian stuff as well. That's been really popping off. I don't know. Maybe my most desired person, I think on this entire list, perhaps most desired combined with being most plausible, would be beyond a question, Brian Cox. If you have seen Succession, right? He voices the patriarch of the family of Succession. I think Brian Cox would knock it out of the park. Now, if you have not seen Succession and you are unfamiliar with Brian Cox, at least if you live in North America, or at the very least if you live in the United States, you will have heard Brian Cox doing commercials for McDonald's. He narrates McDonald's commercials frequently, not exclusively. I've heard other voices in there as well, but he's that sort of like softer spoken, older sounding dude, and man, he would be one heck of a hit for a character in Elder Scrolls 6, I feel. I felt like he would be an amazing Git, and frankly, I am appalled that we haven't heard him in any major sort of game yet. Have we? Has he been in like a Call of Duty or something? That like something somewhere that I'm unaware of? I feel like he hasn't been in anything super major. Maybe he's been like in an expansion for World of Warcraft or some shit like that. I have no idea. Either way, Brian Cox, someone needs to get Brian Cox. If he doesn't show up in Elder Scrolls 6, someone needs to get this guy, right? He's so good. He's so good. He's got such a recognizable voice. I think he's fantastic. And also it helps that he's seems like he's just a cool dude. He seems like a nice enough guy. But yeah, he is, I think, at the top of my list of wants for stunt casting, for fan casting, stunt casting. Now we get into the more unlikely ones. A lot of these are people who have, maybe they've worked in video games, or they've at least worked in animation before. They've done voice work before in the past. Or I wonder, like, okay, maybe they're not getting a lot of work, and now that video games are kind of becoming a bit more cool to go into and a bit more prestigious to go into, maybe their talent agent will say, you know what? Why don't you take this video game? You know, this is kind of a big name game. Why don't you sign up for Elder Scrolls 6 and voice a character in there? That'll get you some renown and notoriety and all that good stuff. So sort of along those lines, I would be down for, once again, going into like the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul realm of things. Like I said, I think these are unlikely, but I would love it. I would love Rhea Seehorn, also of Pluribus now. She's the main star of Pluribus. I think she's fantastic. She has such a distinct voice. Dude, I would love it if she were stunt casted in Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5 or whatever the hell. I would absolutely love that, but I don't think that's happening. In a similar vein, I would love Jonathan Banks, the voice of Mike Ehrmantraut, sort of giving you a damn quest. He has such a distinct voice and delivery for everything. Could you imagine? I could just picture it now. He's like some dude in the Dark Brotherhood. Oh my God. Jonathan Banks, stunt casting. How come nobody's done it? It's probably his talent agent, right? His acting agent, it just does not want him to do it. Either that or he doesn't want him to fucking do it. I don't know. Regardless, we can go back to Game of Thrones as well. I believe, wasn't Kit Harington? He's got a somewhat distinctive voice. I don't know if you do motion capture and make the character look like them. I don't know if you go that far. Elder Scrolls doesn't really have a... Well... Oblivion did, but Skyrim less so. Where they sort of take the likeness too of the actor. I don't know. I don't know if you go that route with Elder Scrolls 6. But Kit Harington, he has a somewhat distinctive voice. But his appearance would definitely garner way more people being like, oh my God, that's the Game of Thrones guy. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he also in a somewhat recent Call of Duty game? Maybe one of the bad ones, in fact. I mean, I think actually he was in one of the less good ones. But regardless, he's up for it if they want him, I suppose. Also, what I would call an unsung hero, a sleeper hit from the Game of Thrones cast, who I don't think would also do it unless they're like a talent agent would be down for it, or they would be down for it, because I don't know that they have a history of it. But from season 1 of Game of Thrones, Mark Addy, Robert Baratheon, right? I think he would be amazing. I think this dude would be amazing voicing anybody. Oh my God, in any game, I would love to hang out with Mark Addy as like a follower, or just like a major character in a game or whatever, just hanging out with him. I think that would be so dope. Have him just like running around saying shit that, you know, just being fucking gregarious as hell. I would love that. But I don't think he's got a history of doing it at all. Thus, it's in the unlikely category. Other character that I would say would be unlikely, But I gotta say, unlikely, because I don't think he's got a history of doing it, but a remarkable and distinct enough voice. And if not out, once again, get some ideas here. If you're interested in stunt casting for a video game, consider Michael C. Hall. Michael C. Hall. You may not think like outwardly like, oh, okay, how about this guy, you know? But consider all of the interesting and intriguing bits of monologuing that he does in Dexter. We're talking about Dexter from Dexter, right? Michael C. Hall. I think he could do one hell of an amazing, like, brooding character, an amazing delivery there. I think that would be one heck of a banger. I have no idea how much he would ask, though, if that's like in or outside of like the realms of budget, right? We're trying to keep it mostly constrained to like television. Like, I want to be like, oh yeah, you should get Timothy Chalamet, who's like super hot right now with regards to like his fame. He's like he's on a meteoric rise or whatever. Yeah, I think you should get who else is like super expensive right now? I don't even know. You should get Tom Cruise. You should get. We probably limit film movie actors away from things unless they tend to play like do character acting. Hence, you know, it would be cool if like there were a Morgan Freeman. You know, it would be so cool if Morgan Freeman were in the game, but that's impossible. Which, speaking of which, Morgan Freeman is in my impossible area. One more person, though, who I think might be somewhat likely, for unlikely, not impossible, but somewhat unlikely, I would say Jonathan Frakes. Jonathan Frakes has a bit of an enjoyable and distinctive enough voice. You sort of get at the Star Trek connection, which somebody at Bethesda who controls all this is probably Todd, right? They definitely have a soft spot for Star Trek and the actors who appeared in Star Trek. So I could see Jonathan Frakes doing it. He's got a decent enough voice on him to carry that stuff as well. I'd be down for it. I think it would be fantastic. You could also go out your way and say like, oh, how about Lord of the Rings? You could get like Elijah Wood or something. You know, they already did Sean Bean. I feel like you could get. That's an interesting one to think about now. It occurred to me, Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis has definitely done a lot of voice acting for video games, but I don't think he has that distinctive of a voice, right? Or at least that recognizable of a voice. Because oftentimes when he's doing a different voice, he's not like just speaking in his own voice whenever he's doing some sort of damn character, you know? So I don't know if he's actually that good of a pick for that. You know? As much as everybody enjoys Andy Serkis, I don't know if he's actually that good of a pick when it comes to stunt casting. You know? Anyway. All other ones inside of No Way and Impossible. One of the ones I really thought would be cool and I really wanted was James Earl Jones. Sadly, he's no longer with us and all of that. Thus, sort of a non-starter casting James Earl Jones would have been amazing, though. I do tend to, for these, I tend to skew toward older actors because The Elder Scrolls has historically skewed toward older actors. You know, I feel like Aaron Paul is maybe the youngest one we have on this list out of anybody. I feel like either Aaron Paul or Elijah Wood. I think Elijah Wood is older. Is Elijah Wood older than Aaron Paul? I have no idea. I assume so, but I have no idea, actually. Regardless, would be fun to see like Elijah Wood or what's his name? He's now recently the head honcho in charge of the Screen Actors Guild, isn't it? What's his name? Who played Samwise? Regardless, probably unlikely. let's veer back into the realms of impossibility or just like no way, right? Where it's like 90% chance or higher that they're not going to be in this thing. But I would still love it. You can't say Aaron Paul without Bryan Cranston. He would be one hell of a remarkable voice. But I don't know if he's ever done any sort of like voice acting in that way, right? I would imagine he's like lended his voice to like an episode of The Simpsons or Family Guy or something like that. But I don't know if he's ever appeared as a regular voice on any type of animation, like a recurring character or even recurring side character. I don't think he's ever done voice acting for a video game ever at all, but my God, he would be amazing. He would, right? He would be amazing, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Along similar lines, we were talking about earlier characters or actors who have recency to where it would not work. We were talking on like Charles Dance. Obviously, Cyberpunk also has two big names where they're almost certainly not going to appear in any other video game anytime soon, unless it's based off of like an IP that they're already in. That being Keanu Reeves and, well, I don't know, maybe Idris Elba being sort of the standout star of an expansion. He can get away with it. I don't know, though. I don't know. Definitely Keanu Reeves. I feel like he's too closely associated with Cyberpunk now. You just can't do it. You know, I don't think it's doable. If anything, I expect Keanu Reeves to appear in the next Cyberpunk game. He probably won't be like a main featuring character, but he'll have like a bit of a cameo or side role or appearance or whatever the heck. You know, something along those lines. Appear on the radio, appear on a television or something, doing a little talk. I'd believe that. Similarly, Norman Reedus. You cannot have Norman Reedus in your game now, thanks to Death Stranding. He's just in that game. That's him. That's his game. You cannot put him in anything else. I don't think it's going to happen. You know who I would really be down for and who also has a distinctive voice? I would say Rami Malek of Mr. Robot fame. He was also in a video game. He was in Until Dawn. He was in James Bond as well as a villain. But for me, his standout role is in Mr. Robot. But I would be so down for that. But I think he has completely checked out video games since he started getting movie roles and winning awards for those movie roles. I think he has zero interest, or at the very least, his talent agent has zero interest in going back to that well. So I write him off as effectively impossible. Someone else who I would really love that's just like a pipe dream, I think they would do amazing, would be Willem Dafoe. Oh my God, I would love... Willem Dafoe might just be my favorite movie actor ever. I don't know. He seems like such a chill and good dude, and he always is like giving it 110%, and he has like a hilariously enormous penis from the sounds of things, which, what's not to love? Regardless, he was in Beyond Two Souls, right? Was it David Cage? The David Cage game. Didn't he have a role in that? Was he like the villain? God, I can't remember. It was so long ago, and I never played it myself. He may have also played like the Green Goblin in some of the Spider-Man tie-in games, but I don't know what it would take to get him to voice a character in like any other game. But someone should try. How cool would that be? Someone should try. The people love Willem Dafoe right now, right? He's fantastic. Other folks, I would say there are a few wild cards. You know, there's a few wild cards. I think maybe the biggest wild card would be Henry Cavill. You know, Henry Cavill is definitely into video games, but I don't know if Elder Scrolls is actually hardcore enough for him. I don't know if he would actually be into it. I feel like Henry Cavill is positioned to scoff at Elder Scrolls and say that, and have some degree of like qualm with it. You know, I could easily see that, of him being a little elitist about it. I don't know. It would be a fun get. But at the same time, I don't think he has that much of a distinctive voice to do it, you know? I think the only way you would know is if you like brought him out on stage or said like, or there was talk of like, oh, this character, did you know is actually voiced by Henry Cavill? I don't think his voice is distinctive enough to know. Sort of not unlike what was going on with Parthenax, where it was Charles Martinet, and people were, they didn't make big fanfare about it, but the fans were sort of just like playing the game and being like, oh yeah, did you know that Parthenax is actually voiced by the same guy who has voiced Super Mario for like ever, right? That was fun. That kind of made it stunt casting in a weird way as well. You know, people maybe appreciate that more than anything, weirdly enough. But there may be other people who act in film and television who might personally ask to get in on the game. Maybe that could happen. I don't know. People who like Elder Scrolls in their private life are like, yeah, I'd be down to do a little brief role or whatever in the game if you want. I mean, I would like a paycheck as well, you know, put it on the resume, but otherwise I would very much love to do it because I love these games. I think that's a big wild card, so you could get someone just out of nowhere and be like, whoa, what the heck? It turns out who's someone that you wouldn't expect to be into the Elder Scrolls? Who's like a big name actor right now that you wouldn't expect to be in the Elder Scrolls? Vin Diesel has a history with video games. That dude used to play World of Warcraft. Who's like a somewhat, also when I say big name, do we mean like making a lot of money or very prestigious or what? like what exactly do we mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who would perfectly embody like I would be shocked to learn. Who in Hollywood right now is popping off and does not evoke vibes whatsoever that they would be interested in like a sword and sorcery type of video game? Whoever that is, it's them. Alan Richardson or Richson, whatever his name is, definitely him. Almost certainly him. He does not seem like that. I don't know. Because now we have such a history of people who are super into working out and, you know, like doing bodybuilding or whatever. They're really like, they have a physical presence. And then it turns out, oh, this person is actually super into video games when they have this spare time, right? This has happened a lot. It's a commonly recurring theme. So I don't know. It could be anybody. But something to keep in mind that maybe someone would go out of their way and ask. I don't know what the odds are that they would entertain that though. I have no idea. Anyway, that ought to do it for this one. A bit of a fun one, a bit of a silly one. But like I said, I'm a little bit busy when this goes out anyhow. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully, well, shoot, I don't know. If you got any good ideas, let me know. It sounds so much like engagement bait. But I don't know. I like this stuff. It's fun. Maybe it'll help you take your mind off of the sadness of not getting any Elder Scrolls 6 information whatsoever, even though everybody told you that there wouldn't be any. All right, that'll do it for now. Until next time, please take care of each other.